from that.
A couple of occasions on which South Melbourne came close. Of course, Panopoulos with that looping header late in the game was something that, and I think it was 1-0 at that time.
Yeah, it was still 1-0, and Mike Casija did his reputation no disservice whatsoever. He had a fantastic game in very, very difficult circumstances, but they defended so wonderfully, the South Melbourne boys, and I'm sure Angie would be hoping they can bring that sort of determination back to Australia to defend their title and hopefully square up for another World Club Championship. And it was pretty much to be expected. The lack of possession, a couple of times the ball hit the post, but the South Melbourne boys' lack of ability to keep possession for extended periods, more a reflection of the quality of the opposition, really. And Vasco will be probably disappointed that they didn't make more of the game, and Johnny's speculated that they're going to get a hammering in the press. They were certainly saved by two magnificent goals. Here's the Panopoulos.
Yeah, this was a turning point, wasn't it? This could have changed.
And just to think 1-1 against Vasco in the Maracana with a couple of minutes to go, that's almost unbelievable.
This is a class goal, isn't it? Absolute class. The chest and he waits just long enough. He doesn't hit it first time. He waits long enough, and that's why Edmundo is such a top player. He didn't have such a big game tonight, but there's an example of the genius. A lot of people sit there and say, why didn't South Melbourne? Why don't they open up? Why don't Aussie team? Why don't they open up more against these bigger opponents? And that's a classic example of what happens when you do. South Melbourne started to chase the game a little bit and said very quickly on the counter, one chance and it's all over.
Just before we wrap up, South Melbourne's next game is against Necaxa, and I'll give you the telecast details in a moment, but how's that looking? They did very well against Manchester United today, Andy. 1-1 the final score there, and they led for most of the game, so that's not going to be easy.
Underestimated Mexican football, isn't it? And Mexico, the Mexican club is also here, as is the Saudis, with most of their players play within their own country, so it's a almost national team level. And the danger for South Melbourne is that so much emotional energy went into day one. Now you've got to back up after 2 days. That's a difficult game.
That's right.
In that sort of heat.
Yeah, well, the froth and bubble is now gone, and to recover in 2 days after that, you saw some of the players' shirts clinging to them with sweat. It's going to be very difficult to bounce back, and they don't expect Necaxa really to be the big game, but I think they're in for a difficult one.
Okay, Andy, John, thank you for today. We'll see you on Saturday morning. That's our coverage this morning. Our next sojourn in Rio is on Sunday morning, I should say, not Saturday. South Melbourne versus Necaxa. We begin at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Summer Time, and that game will be immediately followed by a special edition of On the Ball at the conclusion of the game. Then we're here again next Wednesday morning, this time at 7 a.m. Eastern, when South Melbourne take on Manchester United. And then we go back again for the final on Saturday morning, January the 15th, on air at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Summer Time.